Hey everyone, welcome. Today is Monday, April 15th. We're doing chapter 6 of Unlearn Your Anxiety and Depression. And I think it is a little shorter chapter this time, so we'll probably have some time for questions and comments. Chapter 6, I'm going to share my screen. And we'll get going. Okay, so this chapter is The Power is in Your Hands. And he talks about the most important factors in getting better. And the main thing is your belief. So, belief that you do, in fact, have mind body syndrome, understanding what factors in your life have caused the stresses and emotions that have triggered the symptoms of mind body syndrome, although that's not always obvious or even necessary. So that's kind of an important point. Sometimes we get really worried about, I don't know what the stressors are or the emotions, and they're hidden, and I just have to find them in order to get out of pain. And so we get really anxious about finding them and can actually create symptoms because of that fear, right? So it's not always obvious. But this book is going to help you. The whole rest of this book will help you find anything that is there. And you don't even have to, as we'll talk about later, you don't even have to do everything in it. It's not always necessary. Okay. I think this is, oh, interesting. The chat saved from last time. So I was like, oh, there's lots of comments, but those were last time's comments. Okay. So also, what is one of the other most important factors is learning how to reverse the neural circuits of pain, fatigue, anxiety, and depression. So that's what we'll be going over in the next chapters. Okay, so the belief part of it, if you are still not sure, especially with anxiety and depression, maybe you've been told different things, go back to the end of chapter 5, consider the advice given. That was just last week. And you can still start even if you have doubts. A lot of people are in that place of still thinking maybe something structural is going on, or maybe something genetic, or they're just not sure if it'll work for them, but go ahead and start. You're here for a reason. So trust that. Over time, you'll likely see that the symptoms vary in ways that inform you that they are mind-body syndrome. So the methods I describe will begin to work for you, at least to some degree. Don't think that you need to do every single exercise in order to recover. Again, that gets into kind of that fear-based perfectionism and trying to be, thorough and perfect. Okay, so keep that in mind. We're actually retraining those brain pathways of going into anxiety to try to fix things, right? Don't put pressure on yourself to get better right away. 3 things will happen for you with this process. First, you'll learn to understand yourself much better. Second, you'll see significant improvements or cure of your physical symptoms of anxiety, depression, pain, all of them, right? Especially all of them that you believe are mind-body syndrome. And then finally, you'll gain more mastery and control over your emotions and your life. So a lot of people do therapy or life coaching just to get those things, just to learn about their emotions and, show up more how they want to in their life. So this process not only will help you with these body symptoms, but also this kind of lifestyle change so that you can be more of who you want to be, and you can take care of yourself. You can get out of those survival states and survival mode and start really like enjoying your life and living your life. Okay, so there are 6 R's for curing mind-body syndrome. Reading about mind-body syndrome. Okay, that's what we're doing with this book. There's a lot of other references too, and that could include podcasts and things. It doesn't have to literally be reading, especially if you like to listen to things. Learning about mind-body syndrome, basically. But the R for it is reading, okay? And then repudiation of the physical explanations for your symptoms. So for anxiety, it might be, some of the things that you are told or that you believe about anxiety, that it's just caused by my genetics or whatever. Same with depression. And then if you are looking at it from like other symptoms with pain or IBS or dizziness or tinnitus, like all of those things, they probably all have a physical explanation that at some time you were told, is the food or whatever it is. So start to question that. The writing exercises, those will be in the workbook part of the book. Reflecting with meditative exercises, those are also in the book and online. He has the meditations on his website, and you have the password if you've purchased the book. And his meditations are really good. Reprogramming your mind, that's what we'll be going over also in the next chapters, how exactly to reprogram your mind, and rebuilding your life. And so this edition, well, this is actually from the Unlearn Your Pain. But anyway, this includes the new component, verbal expression of deep emotions. So if you have listened to or read The Way Out, that's pain reprocessing therapy. It's like the education piece of it and decreasing your fear. And then this book goes deeper into understanding, having awareness of your emotions and expressing them, and learning how to move through them, basically. So that's why some people, all they need is the way out, and that's enough to cure their pain. But other people, we need to go a little deeper, and that's what we're doing here. So you've already taken the first step, reading, and then that second step, rejecting any diagnosis for symptoms actually caused by mind-body syndrome that you may have been given by doctors who are unfamiliar with mind-body syndrome. So, maybe your anxiety is causing some other physical symptoms, and that would be a place to question, like, oh, my neck pain, maybe it's not caused by my, this condition that's not curable. It's because I have anxiety and I hold my tension there. You guys get the idea, though. That's such an important piece, is to just kind of question everything. Question everything. Your back pain is not caused by a bulging disc or spinal stenosis. That's crazy. I just answered a question today in the group. Those were exactly the things. Bulging disc, spinal stenosis. That occurs in pain-free people. So it's not causing your back pain. Your abdominal pain is not caused by IBS. Your headaches are not caused by migraines. Your whole body pain is not caused by fibromyalgia. Your jaw pain is not caused by TMJ syndrome. Your anxiety or depression is not due to a chemical imbalance in your brain, or that it is your genetic fate to feel these feelings. Okay, so if you don't quite believe that, you can just start with, it's possible. It's possible that my symptoms are not because of this or that, okay? But it's true that your symptoms are real, right? So we're not confusing, and we're not saying this is all in my head and I'm making it up. Like, these are real symptoms, but we're going to work on a new way of addressing them. Symptoms are in the mind and body, and are caused by a set of learned neural circuits that have been activated and are caused by mind-body syndrome. So thinking of circuits, you've probably seen those like circuit boards. Just thinking of, like, you have neural circuits to every part of your body. Your brain can produce any symptom in your body. It does produce symptoms in your body. So those neural circuits that were activated can become really strong and faster and use more of your brain, habitual, right? So we're just unlearning those habits. Okay, so he has you actually speak things out loud. So state clearly and forcefully, I have mind-body syndrome and I can cure myself. Or I have a neural circuit condition. Or this is my brain and I can cure myself. If there are any other of these like mantras that you guys have used or that you like, feel free to put them in the chat because that can be inspiring to other people. And again, you can even start with, it's possible I have mind-body syndrome. But if you actually just feel in your body how it feels to say, it's possible I have mind-body syndrome versus I have mind-body syndrome, one is just a little more definite than the other and stronger. Oh, I am safe and there's nothing wrong with me. Yeah. And then feel it for yourself. Some people don't really like the I am safe one. They say, that doesn't resonate with me. I don't really feel safe, or it does nothing for me. So just use what's better for you. But it's really helpful. You have that trigger of pain to remind yourself, oh, this is a neural circuit disorder. This is a neural circuit condition, even. Disorder sounds worse, right? Condition. These are habits of the brain. This is my brain, and I can cure myself. I have tools and I know what to do. I love that. I have tools and I know what to do. Others can be like, this is a sign to slow down. Oh, this is a sign to check in with myself. Just, am I stressed about something? How can I support my nervous system right now? Right. But when you get to where you can state it clearly and forcefully, think of how powerful that is. Right. So he says that there's a quiz that you can take every day, multiple times a day, even. You can take this quiz where you would ask yourself, what's wrong with you? And the answer is nothing. Right? So if you're giving an answer other than that, it just shows that you're believing about the bulging disc or the TMJ or your alignment or your weakness or the posture or the activity. But really, nothing's wrong with you. Even having neural circuit conditions, nothing's wrong with you. It's just like some programming we want to rewire. You have activated neural circuits that are reversible. That's it. So I have mind-body syndrome and I can cure myself. That is a powerful statement. Say to yourself, I have mind-body syndrome and I can cure myself. Repeat it out loud. Say it again loudly and forcefully with determination and belief that you will get better. And I've seen Dr. Schubiner do this on some videos where he will get a patient saying that. I have my body syndrome. He's like, what? Say it louder. Okay. So getting into that, energy of it, right? Say it with a smile on your face, knowing that you are on the road to getting better. Say it to members of your family, to your friends, to anyone who is a support for you. I can't remember if it's here or where he says it too, but you can like say it in a funny accent. Say it in, with a Southern twang or a British accent, or say it really fast, or say it, just loudly, quietly, whisper it. You're just playing around with that and starting to train your brain that this could be true. The more you're able to be open with yourself and others about mind-body syndrome, and the more you're able to accept the diagnosis as the true and underlying source of your symptoms, the quicker you'll be able to get better. So there is a part in the book, though, where he does say, like, maybe limit how many people you're talking to about this if you're not quite sure about it still, right? Because sometimes it's really easy to start to talk to people about it, and then they bring up all these questions in your mind, and then you leave actually more fearful. But if you're feeling good about it, it's cool to be able to say, no, I have mind body syndrome and I'm going to get better, versus the family member who's always asking how you are, and you're like, oh, it's pretty bad. Oh, I sing it. Yes. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, you could have a little tune that you sing it to. I love that. I sing it too. So cool. Yeah. And singing is cool because singing and humming, it like activates vibrations in our body. And it actually, like, the vagus nerve innervates all of this whole area, like from your neck down to your pelvis. So things that you can do that vibrate that area actually can have the vagus nerve calm the nervous system Yeah. So singing it, that adds something even more powerful. I love it. Okay. Remember that mind body syndrome symptoms can be very severe, right? Just because it's created in your brain, somehow we think, well, that must mean it's not as severe as if it's real, right? This is all just stuff we've been taught. It is extremely difficult for people with severe pain, anxiety, depression, or fatigue to grasp the idea that their condition is not caused by some kind of severe physical damage or injury. But emotions and stress activate the exact same mechanisms as does a physical injury. So they're using the same neural circuits. It's not like there's a real pain one and an emotional pain one. They're the same areas of the brain activated, same neural circuits. That's why the symptoms are the same. Okay. The brain is attempting to tell us that we're in danger to protect us. So with mind body syndrome, the danger is not a physical injury, but rather some kind of social situation that our brain has decided is dangerous. Don't be fooled by how severe or how frequent your symptoms are. Pain or other symptoms are not imaginary or simply in your head. Your brain has learned them and you can reverse them. That all makes sense? It's kind of a review of like, this is a fear of an emotional threat because I was hurt in the past when people made fun of me when I was different. And so now I'm going to, be a little afraid in a new social situation. My brain will cause some pain and maybe that'll even keep me home so that I'm quote unquote safe from that emotional pain. It is even often more difficult to imagine that our minds can cause other symptoms such as itching, burning, tingling, numbness, fatigue, anxiety, depression, or insomnia. Right? Most people even just call it like nerve pain if it's numb or tingling. They don't even think, oh, it's a neural circuit that my brain can activate if a nerve is damaged or if I'm stressed. In fact, people who have the most severe, unusual, and widespread symptoms are most likely to have mind-body syndrome, right? If it's not helped by modern medicine, if they can't figure it out because it's so rare, more likely that it's actually mind-body. That's why the medical system doesn't understand it. The purpose of the symptom is to alert us to do something. Sometimes the symptom that is created is a form of OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, thoughts with specific patterns. Okay, and that's, one of the forms of anxiety, right, is the OCD. So obsessive thoughts are a form of mind-body syndrome, our minds creating more fear. So it's almost like a neural circuit of obsessive thoughts, right? It could be the neural circuit of back pain and our muscles tighten up and produce pain, or neural circuits of perseverating and fear and worry. When we begin to worry about the symptoms, then we wonder if something's physically wrong. We worry that the doctors might have missed something or doubt the diagnosis of MBS or just focus on the symptoms virtually all the time. And that's what we really see with that health anxiety, right? Where it's like, what was that new symptom? And then going to Google that and getting, really worried about that. And, oh, did my heart just skip a beat there? I better worry about that, right? Just like a always on guard of what symptoms are there and focusing on them. So the main thing we want to do in all of these cases is lower the fear. Repeat the sentence, I have mind-body syndrome and I can cure myself. And to do that, you're calming the danger or alarm mechanisms of the brain, right? Or find whatever works the best for you right now and work into, this belief. Using your conscious mind to affect the subconscious circuits that have been activated and have become persistent. So it's like you have a cause and effect relationship, trigger, response, and we're going to have that trigger and have a different response. And that's how we consciously can change it. Since there's nothing physically wrong with you, lowering the danger signal is all you need to do to recover. And then there were studies by Kirsch and Bandura that demonstrated that people who expect that they will improve and those that believe they have the ability to master their situations, this is known as self-efficacy, are much more likely to get better. So when we think it is structural, this is the big problem or difficulty with thinking, well, part of it's structural and part of it is neuroplastic. When we don't think those symptoms will improve or expect them to, that there's less of a chance that they will. So this is why that learning and proving it to yourself is so important if you want to, especially if you want to do it more quickly. Okay, so some people do quickly reverse it, but it is more common that it takes several weeks to months. And it is frustrating. It can be frustrating to read about some of the rapid recovery stories, right? On one hand, we're inspired by it. On the other hand, we hate them because we're like, why didn't that happen with me? Maybe something's wrong with me. But please be patient and recognize that the neural circuits of mind-body syndrome that have been activated, or they may have been activated for quite some time, right? So mostly these things develop in our childhood, these neural circuits. Oh, geez. Hopefully you don't hear that smoke detector fire alarm. Someone's cooking. I think Zoom cuts it out, but hopefully you don't hear that too much. Sorry. It's kind of like a danger signal, right? A false alarm from the brain, but it'll go away soon. It can take time to unlearn them. Circuits are like habits that have built up over time, and making new habits is often a slow and gradual process. So if you were, I use the example of like working out and changing your body that way and eating healthy, like there's a bunch of new habits that you're creating, and most people understand they're not going to lose, 30 pounds in 1 week or something. Like it just is a process that takes some time. Yeah, and that's so synchronistic. The fire alarm tool is one that I use often, right? It's like, this is totally what a neural circuit is with MBS. It's like a fire alarm that goes off when you're cooking toast. And so there's not an actual fire, but the alarm is the same, the intensity is the same. And when we can just, calm ourselves and see that there's no fire, well, in this analogy, the fire alarm would go off less and less, but in my house, it still goes off all the time when people cook. Okay, so if you put too much pressure on yourself to get better quickly, if you feel that you have to do each and every exercise completely and perfectly, if you want to get better so much that you can't stand to wait for these neural pathways to reverse, then you will tend to undermine your progress. And again, like I said, how this is like a lifestyle change, we try to approach it oftentimes with this energy coming from a survival state of perfectionism and um, trying to hurry and trying to do it better, and that will set us back. That can set us back, and when we're really harsh on ourselves, very critical of ourselves, it does set us back. Yes, when I have a sensation, sometimes I say, nope, that's just a piece of toast. Oh, I love that, right? Yeah. I think I heard like something, people were saying you should have a smoke detector, a fire alarm that if you say, I'm just cooking, then it turns off. But yeah, I love saying that to your own brain, right? Because our brain does so much better when we make it kind of like abstract and funny, and we're not like, oh, it could be the shoes, or it could be that we're just like, it's okay, brain, it's a piece of toast. Like it's a piece of cake, but it's a piece of toast. I love it. Okay, and unlearning mind-body syndrome is like training a puppy. It takes a consistent message, persistence over time, knowing that the course will have its ups and downs, and doing it with a caring, loving attitude towards yourself. Remember that. That's the hardest part sometimes, but so, so important. Many people who have MBS are high achievers or perfectionists. But you guys, that's totally how I was. You're likely to be hard on yourself and beat yourself up for not reaching your goals. Don't fall into the trap of working too hard on this program. Do not get down on yourself if you miss doing the homework on one or more days. You will have success in this program, but don't create unnecessary worry by putting too much pressure on yourself. The most important single piece of advice I can give you is be kind to yourself. That's how important this is. Okay. Don't put more pressure on yourself. Don't increase your guilt or self-blame or self-criticism. These are factors that create MBS and prevent its cure. Okay. Take it easy on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't worry if you don't see improvements immediately. Continue to do the exercises in this program. If you do, you will benefit and the people in your life will benefit. Most people with MBS do not take enough time for themselves and don't do enough for themselves. I put this on its own slide in big letters so that you see this. Okay. It's sometimes really hard in this society to take time for ourselves. We might have been programmed to believe that that's selfish or, we don't have time for that. We don't even know how to do it. So please, please, please think of this as filling your own cup first, and you will actually be able to give more to other people when you do that. But what we do, at least this is what I did, a strong sense of duty, need to be doing things all the time to feel worthy. And I didn't even really know how to, take time for myself or spend time on myself. So please listen to that. It's more about if you could just go and do something fun every day versus thinking of it as like, I have all this, work to do and stuff to get better, this healing work, that would actually just calm your nervous system and get you into that healing state faster. So definitely don't think of taking this time for yourself or any time for yourself as unproductive. Okay, even though this program is designed for 28 days, it's often just the beginning of a journey of recovery. If you know that you will get better and it could take a month or several months or a year, you would probably be fine with that. How does that one resonate with you guys? There's sometimes resistance to that, but maybe considering all the things you've tried and how long you've been dealing with symptoms and this stuff is resonating with you. And of course, it'd be awesome if it was done tomorrow, but if you could like kind of over time consistently see some progress to where you want to be in a year, if you think of it that way, it may be easier to think, okay, well, I've had it for 20 years and it did, even if it took a whole year and I learned all these things about myself and how to express myself and be, have emotions and not repress them, which, like I said, a lot of people already go to therapy for that kind of stuff anyway. Then yeah, it might be something that you would be fine with. But I also know a lot of people when they say a year, they're like, what? I want this better, like, last week. And Jen O said earlier, it's so counterintuitive, right? Yes, all this work kind of is. It is critical to believe that you have MBS and that you can be cured. It's critical that you take the time to do the program wholeheartedly. And it's critical to be kind to yourself. And wholeheartedly doesn't mean you do every single thing like a regimented soldier, right? It's wholeheartedly meaning, you're believing in it, you're trusting the process, you're willing to go into those dark places of, this is stuff I haven't really thought of for a while and it's time to clean that out. So that is all I have for the slides, and it will make more sense as we do more of the book, with the chapters. This was almost just more like an introduction to the work, like laying a framework of here's the main thing you need to do, be kind to yourself and decrease your fear, right? And he talks about, doing a meditation and an exercise each day. Once we, that'll be next week's chapter and going forward. The exercises, he has a bunch of different written exercises, journaling types of things. Maybe sending, or sorry, not sending, writing a letter that you're never going to send, something like that. But stuff to just explore what's going on at this deeper level, what's going on with my history, so I can understand why this developed. What do I still have to resolve from, some hidden emotions or subconscious emotions, right? Okay. What do you guys have for me? What do you think so far? We have a ton of extra time. I knew this would be a kind of shorter chapter. So what are your thoughts or questions so far? Alexis.
Hey, so this was like
Welcome.
really too hard to put in the chat, but when you were
Oh, good.
asking about like how long, if it takes a year, like how do you feel about that? And
Yeah.
I want to say that the therapist that I was working with did this really cool thing on a whiteboard where he was like, you have a peak and then you go down, and then you have a peak and then you go down, and that those hills and valleys get less and less and less. And that's what I have found. I'm on 10 months of doing this work.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had like a 7 week period where I was pretty good. And then bam, like
Yeah.
way, way down. And now I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of coming back out of that. And I'm in those little hills and valleys again, where I'll have 2 good
Mm-hmm.
days and then one kind of bad day. And then,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like impossible to put that in chat, but I wanted to share with people that that's been my journey, and it has gotten better and better. And the good days are better and the worst days are better, if that makes sense. Like I don't ever go
Yes.
all the way back to panic ever.
Mm-hmm.
So
That is.
yeah.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. And yeah, please don't get discouraged if you hear 10 months or a year, because you're still,
Yeah.
it's not like a light switch where it's like you feel horrible all the time and then boop, all of a sudden you feel better. Like you're kind of like you described, like there's times you feel better, times you feel better, and then those times just kind of expand more and more. And then, right. So it's not like I'm gonna suffer at the amount that I'm at right now for a whole year and then all of a sudden I'll be better. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't mean to discourage people either.
Yeah.
as Betsy has said, I want to tell everybody I've been dealing with this stuff since I was a teenager, and I'm 50. So I have a lot to unpack, and
Hmm.
it makes sense that it took this long for me. So, but I'm
Yeah.
sure that's not true for everybody.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's just everything is case by case. And honestly, we never outgrow having symptoms in our body. We just, like you said, we don't have them as severely or as frequently. But Dr. Schubiner says he still gets, mind body symptoms too, right? Like we are humans. This is
Mhm.
kind of part of how humans are, and some are a little more sensitive than others, and this can happen more with some than others. But um when we embrace that and we accept that, then that's easier too, to just be like, oh, okay, the front of my leg has been kind of numb lately, and so I'm like, that's so interesting, like I wonder what's going on with that, but I just don't like fear it and obsess about it, and I'm pretty sure it'll just like go away as fast as it came, probably. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. Allison, you have your hand up.
Hi, I thought it would be easier to speak to.
Oh, good.
um, Betsy, I just want to say thank you so much.
Mhm.
So I joined the Alignment Academy last week. It's amazing. I recommend
Good.
everybody to do it.
Oh, thank
So
you.
basically, every day I'm either listening to that or listening to your podcast, which are also amazing.
Good.
And it all started with the book club 6 weeks ago, and I feel like I'm just having this massive transformation, and it is just like, just I'm not talking about just the chronic pain, but just everything, just everything.
Mm.
And I'm sharing it because I teach Qigong and yoga, and I'm sharing it with my classes because I'm just bursting to share it. And yeah, thank you. And for the time thing, I just think that what I'm doing is I'm just trusting that, like, I believe this now 1000%, and it's taken me years to get here. But now that I really believe this, I just trust, and I don't even think about time. I don't think about whether it will be, how long it will be. I just trust that I make it in the present moment. I don't say to myself, I can cure myself. I say I am healing myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in the present moment. And
Yeah.
I just literally go around talking and singing to myself all day.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good distinction, right? Our brain, like all those little things, right? If we're saying I can, that's putting it in the future versus I am, then you're like, this is happening right now.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I'm so glad like things are just like clicking for you.
It's
And
so huge. And on Saturday, so one of my symptoms has been like really bad bladder pain for 23 years. And it was bad on Saturday. And it was because I had a social occasion to go to, and I realized that I was really anxious. And
Mhm.
then I was like looking at that and thinking, well, why am I anxious? And then I realized it's because I want people to like me. And then I
Mhm.
realized, this is interesting. So instead of being caught up in this, oh my God, I'm in agony and fear and panic and wanting it to go away, I was telling myself, okay, this is a good opportunity for me to rewire my brain.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yes, exactly. Like I know before I even learned about this stuff, I started getting into self-help and coaching, and when I would find a limiting belief, I'd be like kind of excited. I'd be like, "Oh, good. Now I have a chance to like that brought up this thing that now I can work on, now I can change." And and yeah, now when we apply it to our body is just giving us those signals. Dr. Schubiner says it's just a barometer for our environment and how we're reacting to it. So when we can put together those pieces and say, oh, okay, this is wanting to be liked, and how can I, support myself and rewire this old belief that I no longer, want to just keep limiting myself with. It expands all areas of your
It
life.
is that this is the thing. It's life. Like, I'm not gonna lie, people charge an absolute fortune for these schools of transformation, and
Yeah.
this is all part of what
Yeah.
we're doing here.
It's true, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like even if you just did this work just as a human to understand yourself better, to get in touch with your emotions and be more of a conscious person instead of just reacting in subconscious ways because of our, habits and neural circuits. Yeah, that alone people would pay a ton of money for. They do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, and there's the bonus of my body feeling better than it ever has, and me having so much more compassion for myself than I ever have. And then, that is just like magnetic to people. Like
Yeah.
that's going to help all areas of your life, your business, your connections with people, your general happiness. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing that. You
Thank
just
you.
look like you're just glowing today too. You're just
You
like beaming and yeah. And if you're wondering, she's talking about Alignment Academy. That's my like group coaching program.
It
And
is
oh,
fantastic. It
thank
really is
you.
fantastic. So yeah,
Yeah, I
thank
love
you.
it. I've tried to make it a really nice, like safe, supportive group. Giving you just that extra support if you've been doing this on your own and you want a little more guidance. Maybe you're not ready for like full one-on-one coaching every week, but there's a lot of opportunities still for coaching.
Yeah, there's so much information in all your recorded classes on there.
I have modules on
Yeah.
all this stuff, plus just kind of tying it with some general life coaching tools too, since I'm a life coach. But okay, well, awesome. That was like a little little shameless plug for my group. But thank you so much for sharing that, because this stuff is really powerful, and it's nice to have some inspiration of like, okay, this is possible. It'll work. Just
Yeah,
trust
absolutely.
the process.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh,
I'll
thank
switch
you.
your face off now.
Okay, let's see. I think there were some new things here. Oh, woohoo, Allison. Can I use the Unlearn Your Pain book, or do I need to order Unlearn Your Anxiety and Depression? No, you can use the Unlearn Your Pain book. We've already gone over the different chapters, and I summarized a lot of almost pretty much everything that was in those chapters of Unlearn Your Anxiety and Depression. And these next 6 chapters, 5 chapters after this one, are just the same as Unlearn Your Pain. So you do not need to order the second one. And I think there's a way of just ordering the workbook too. Okay, Jen, yes, I love this point. You start to appreciate the symptoms because they help us face fears and anxieties we didn't even realize were there. Yeah, totally. I have kind of a personal example about that, kind of personal because it's about incontinence, which good news is most of it can be mind body, like in most cases, right? So I struggled with incontinence, especially when I was getting divorced, which makes sense now looking back because it was super, super stressful. So I got to the point of just like wearing a pad, just thinking this is, how my body is. I've had 4 kids. But funny enough, I wasn't like needing to wear a pad before, but during the divorce, I was just like, oh, it's because I had 4 kids, right? So turns out it was a huge emotional component for me. And I even have a podcast episode about the specific things I did to cure my incontinence. But still, sometimes every once in a while, maybe once a month or, every couple weeks or something, I might have a day that I struggle to make it to the bathroom in time. And that's when I'm always like, I think I need to do a little journaling here, maybe get at what really is going on. And every time that I've sat down and like just let myself vent, then I do find something that I'm more stressed about than I realized. And so it's like, it's just so good to know that, right? It's actually a good thing that our body can give us these signs and symptoms, and we can interpret them as, what is this underlying belief that I have that I no longer want to believe? How am I being critical of myself when I don't want to be? How am I not valuing myself or standing up for myself or thinking I need to be different than I am? Like, it's like, I didn't even realize all that was going on. And so this is a way to not have that get stuck in your body in a sense, right? These neural circuits don't have to keep firing, making that, stuck in our bodies. We can actually have a symptom, start to interpret it as, something stressful and do something about that stressor, or tell our brain, reassure our brain that it's fine, we're okay. I call it my spidey senses, Jen. Oh, I love that. Because yeah, it's like we do have this extra sensory perception when we can use our bodies as that barometer, right? And so you might already know this from you get nervous and your stomach hurts, or you have a big test coming up, and also maybe your stomach, or maybe your neck hurts when you've had a long day, or your head hurts when there's been a lot of thinking and stress. Like, or you maybe have some heartbreak and it actually feels like pain in your heart. Like, we know this happens with some things, and it can be helpful then, when I'm starting to say something and I feel a little out of integrity saying it, there's a feeling that happens in my body, right? So it can just alert us to those things that aren't congruent for us. And so your extra senses, your sensitivity can be your superpower, like we're talking about, right? And that can we were talking about it a different day, by the way, not today. But I think, you know, of that concept. And again, you may not quite be there where you believe that. You may still be at the point where you're like, hey, this all sucks. Why me? Why do I have to be the 1 in 4 people that are more sensitive and struggle with this more? No one else in my family does, or my mom was more traumatized, but she didn't have symptoms. You know, it can be your superpower. It really can. It can be your spidey senses. I love that. Right? Just like people will be like, oh, my elbow hurts. It means it's gonna rain. We know actually the weather patterns, it's just not consistently shown to increase pain. But thinking of it that way, oh, my back hurts. That means I'm being self-critical again or whatever. Or like Dr. Schubiner said, there was one lady who was like, she had foot pain and she wasn't like standing up for herself. Right? Or if I have shoulder pain, I'm taking on the weight of the world on my shoulders. I'm burdening myself. What do you guys think? We still have lots of time. Kind of fun to have some time here. Are there any questions anyone has? Anyone want like kind of some coaching? We could always end early too, but okay, let's talk more about spinal stenosis. Yeah. Oh, hey PJ. Let me just talk about this real quick and then we'll come to you. I'm actually going to pull up the chart. Oh, I wonder if I can find it here real quick. Spinal stenosis sounds like a really structural thing, right? It's narrowing of the spinal canals that the nerves run through. And we also know that people who do not have pain have that. So we know that that is not a cause of pain. So that's what we just want to see with any of these physical things. In fact, sometimes I have, sorry, I'm multitasking. Sometimes I have just looked up something, you know, someone has Morton's neuroma, for example, and I've just looked up, can Morton's neuroma occur without pain? And it turns out they've done some autopsy studies where people have, it's like a impinged nerve area on your foot. People have that post-autopsy who never had that physical pain, right? So all these structural things, normal abnormalities can happen, but for sensitive people whose nervous system is, you know, on the edge, living in survival mode, it just turns up any of those, you know, those structural problems can start to be neural circuits for pain. And oh, Allison, you had that? So you had a diagnosis of spinal stenosis? Or Morton's neuroma, maybe. Morton's neuroma.
Morton's
Okay.
neuroma. I
And
can't spell.
and you're not, oh yeah, and you don't have the pain from it now?
No.
Yay, cool. Yeah. And sometimes you may even notice, like, because I've had some pain in that area before, never that diagnosis, but like even just talking about it right now, I'm starting to like feel that in my foot right now. That's a good sign it's neuroplastic though. Okay, let's go to PJ and then I'll read Melissa's comment. Hi.
Hi. I'm just, last year I had problems with my right shoulder and I went through a curable group and it got better.
Hmm.
And then about 6 months later, my left shoulder started hurting. The
Mm.
range of motion was restricted and all. And it's gradually getting better.
Mhm.
But I'm just wondering about, I mean, so I've been familiar with all of these approaches for a long time.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I just keep falling back into old patterns
Mm.
or why that, you know, when I get symptoms resolved, then another one crops up.
Mhm.
And so I'm just kind of tired of the merry-go-round.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. So yeah, your question's kind of like, how come when one symptom goes away, another one comes up and
Yeah, no, I mean, I know that doing this work, I can resolve the symptoms, but then, you know, then a little while later, maybe another one comes up. And so
Yeah. Yeah. So part of it is, we just, our minds and bodies are connected. And so any kind of stressor, even mild stressors, Dr. Schubiner says things like not finding a parking place or running late or worrying about a child or having a difficult conversation, those things can be seen as dangerous to the brain, and then those neural circuits fire. So most people might think, oh, I'm just getting old and that's why, I have pain here and pain there, one thing after another. But we just want to see it as this is normal in life. Even after our chronic pain is gone, we'll still have symptoms that come up
Mhm.
and go away, but we won't have them chronically as we're applying this approach.
Well, I mean, this is the problem, is because the problem with the left shoulder then has been chronic for, you know,
Yeah.
many months. It is now gradually getting better, but it's been many, many months after I saw the earlier ones.
Yeah.
So just,
Yeah. So yeah, there probably could be things that
I
you
mean,
could
I'm
look
just
at
wondering if I
that-
didn't do
sorry.
the work. I didn't do the work thoroughly enough the first, or
Oh,
what, that's kind of my question.
yeah. I think generally what you could say is that we know that symptoms can amplify or last longer depending on our beliefs and how we're reacting to it. So maybe um the way that you reacted to it, there was some of the 6 F's. Do you remember the 6 F's? Like focusing on it, fearing it, being frustrated with it. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe there was a new trigger that, like maybe a new life change happened that was like, okay, I haven't really worked on this part of it. I've worked thoroughly on all this stuff. This other shoulder pain went away, and then there was this new life stressor, and so maybe something else came up, right? Um, or maybe now that you have seen that pattern, the next time when this goes away, and then the next time something comes up, your brain might have that predictive coding of, oh, now this is going to last this long, or maybe this will last this long, which will be fearful. Maybe
Mhm.
even because your right shoulder hurt chronically, maybe that is why it was easier for your brain to believe that this would be something that could be chronic. Does that make sense?
I guess, but it's just I need to try to resolve um this pattern so I don't keep repeating it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's definitely one of the first things to notice is just like, okay, my brain is starting to attach this story together that probably doesn't need to. Like, we know that symptoms will come and go throughout our whole lives, but what
Mhm.
you're telling me, like the title of the book would be once one thing goes away, another one comes, right? And that story, we just don't want to buy into anymore with this doom and this sense of it's always going to be like, one thing or another, like waiting for the other shoe to drop kind of thing,
Yeah.
versus like, yeah, my body is always going to be a barometer, but because I'm learning these tools and applying them, maybe the first couple body parts, there was a lot of, stuff that went into curing that and changing those neural circuits. But when I have another pain that's in my toe or something, it's going to be easier to get over that quicker because I've already built that foundation of, knowing how to change these things and not being as fearful of a new symptom.
Okay. Thanks.
Sorry, though, I know that can be frustrating, and it sounds like you're on the right track. So,
Well, I think so.
yeah, but it doesn't mean you've done anything wrong or that you didn't do it well enough. It just means there's still a lot of fear.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And Alexis says, same. I too get rid of one symptom and then get another. I was told it's normal for this. It's my brain fighting back because it feels like it needs to warn me. Yeah, that's a good perspective of it too, is that, it was like a big extinction burst. It was like one that lasted a really long time, it sounds like. But yeah, that is actually really normal that one symptom goes away because we, maybe had, I think you said there were some treatments for it besides curable as well, but then the other pain comes and then we may think that it means we didn't do it right, but it's just a normal part of the process. It's just our nervous system rewiring.
Or else the brain is just used to constantly warning you and it needs a new job.
Yes. Yeah. So there may be some, kind of some, instead of, focusing on decreasing the pain, increasing the other things in life that fill you up and are pleasurable and kind of light your fire.
Right.
Light
Okay,
you up. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Keep going. I know that's a hard stage to be in. Okay. Melissa, I've been feeling hopeless lately. Every time I recover from a symptom, a new one appears. Most recently, see, you're not alone, PJ. Most recently, it's been anxiety and breathlessness. I'm grateful to be past IBS, IC, etc. But will I ever be off the merry-go-round? Same here, PJ. Yeah, you guys, very, very similar sentiments. And yes, you totally will. But it can feel kind of like hopeless at first, probably, and that's normal to feel that way and to feel frustrated and all of those things that you're expressing when it seems like it's just one thing after another and it's a merry-go-round. So I guess maybe in addition to what I said to PJ, I would just say keep trusting the process. Maybe get one of those notebooks that you can write down things, like a detective for the opposite, noticing any times that are just even a little bit better than others, or you don't get the symptoms as much as you think you're going to. Starting to see that you can do more things in your life and starting to do more things that are fun for you and that are calming for you. And it will change, but it can definitely feel like it's going to be at this intensity with one thing or another my whole life, because that's what the pattern has been. But really, it'll get less and less and less to where it's more just like, oh, like I was saying with the incontinence, right? It's like, okay, this is not my usual. So because this is something going on today, what's going on? And it doesn't become a chronic thing. All right, you guys. I know that can just be in such a, I'm really feeling empathetic for you, I promise. It's a hard place to be in when you're like, okay, I know this stuff can work. And now I have this other symptom, and that's maybe not seeming to work, or it's not as fast. And so yeah, it can be discouraging, but we're always going like this up and down wave type motion. And when you're feeling like that, you're just down at the bottom, right? And that's temporary, and you're going to start to feel better. And like Dr. Schubiner said in one of the previous chapters, a mild depression is actually even a little bit beneficial for us, because then we start maybe changing some things and going in a different direction. So when you're low down here, just know you're going to come back up, and it's going to start to feel really good when you come back up compared to where you were. So, keep trusting that process and just be so gentle with yourself when you're in those kind of times. All right, you guys. Well, thank you. That was fun to have some of that participation. So thanks to all of you that participated. And we will be talking about chapter 7 next week, where we're actually going into the meditations and exercises. So All right. Take care, you guys. See you next week. Thank you. Bye.